Hello everybody, Всем привет. Today I'm going to talk about so there's this thing here where you right click on a structure and it tells you what it is. It's called the quick info menu. And I had to figure out how to decode this, and I realized it's due to the byte 8 value in the tile map. That's where this info comes from. But there's some weird things. So a number of the lake structures, first of all, say nothing here. There are some errors I found, like there's a ship here randomly in Badlands. I have no idea why that value is there. Up here, there is randomly a Lord Kilburn, and he is not there. This is not a hero that exists. So there's just like weird stuff like this that happens in some of these maps, and let's see. I think there might be one. Well, there's definitely there's a few of these that have a number of weird things like hillstone. Some of them have town references, but basically, I wrote a script to just dump the raw map files, and then compare the L1 and L2 objects that were present on those files, and then compare those to the byte 8 values so that I could identify whatever was unidentified, and just look for things. And I found some weird bugs, and I just showed you a couple. I showed you the ship that was in the middle of the winter location. This is maybe not the best way to view that. Why don't we look at it this way? So there are things where, so I put in like the object event name, and 5 I think this is the Daemon Cave. I'm just doing this from memory, but I was able to look it up based on these object tables, and I dumped every single unique combination in every single map. So there are like 20,000 of them. Now, most of them I knew what they were, but there were some swaths of unidentified, for example. But you can see these are mountain or tree or some other object 32 thing, and that's 53. So I had to look at what they were and come up with a definition, and then I reworked my encoder and came up with a definition for everything. So by the time I got to the third variant of this, I had everything identified, but there were some weird bugs that I was seeing. Let me actually just see if I can search for this quick and show you. Maybe I can search for bug. Maybe that's a better way to search for it. Hillstone, that is in is that in Shangri-La? Okay, interesting. So, and then I also output the location of where it was. So in Shangri-La 2 and 1. So if we open up the Shangri-La map and we go to 2-1, we should be able to see a hillstone. Let's see, standard map. Shangri-La is one of the larger DOS maps, I believe. 101, 495. And 2-1 is like over here. So we're gonna, see hillstone. I don't know what that is. It's usually on a mine when I've seen it, but somehow it gets labeled hillstone. So it's just weird. There's just some weird things like this. Let's see if we can find some other bugs here. Okay, is that in Badlands? No, that's the other one. So there's some hillstone bugs here. There's a really cool one. So Algery, which level is this in? This is in Fire Island, and the location is 1134. So let's go to Fire Island and just see what's there at 1134. So 34 is about in the middle, and 11 probably down here somewhere. Maybe I got my coordinates wrong and it's actually 11. It should be closer down here. Actually, I think it's over here though. So 11 would be about here, and 34 would be alright, well, I'm not remembering where this one was, but let's see if we can find. There's a really cool one. Here it is. This is 116 at 4016, and that is in Archipelago. So let's go to Archipelago actually, and I think that might be a multiplayer only map. Let's see. Nope, I have enabled it for single player 101.495. So if I remember right, what was the address on that approximately? 40 and 16. So we're about one square down and somewhere. I think it's here. Yeah. So look at this. What the heck is going on here? Hillstone, gazebo, an old knight. There's some really strange, like something strange is going on, and an allegory, which I think is one of the town names. So these three squares in Archipelago are just like randomly. I mean, it's weird. So I don't have an explanation for that. That's just something I observed. And so I flagged these things as bugs and then I skipped over them. Everything else in here is pretty clear what it is. So these are the values that I'm going to use for that when I generate this quick info menu on the map, which I haven't done yet, but I'm going to. So this was how I decoded this, and I went through. I basically just did 3 passes, and each time I passed it in the new values of what I had created, and it looked pretty good. And I've been calling it right-click tile identifier as the informal name. But yeah, I got through that. I then generated a full. I have a full version here of tile types in. And so there's nothing that's identified here under informal name now. So I have all, 20,000 or so unique tile types figured out, and I just flagged some as bugs, and I'm just gonna skip those in the decoding for now because that's just weird. Like I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. So part of me wants to like look in the executable or look in memory or do some even deeper look into the hardware. But I have other things I want to do first. So, but I'm gonna swing right into building that quick info map, which is this. This is when you click on a hero, that's what you see. When you click on a castle, that's what you see. I basically created a legend of all of the different tiles that you can have. In the byte 8, and those are the values that you're going to use. Now what I will point out is stuff here, there's a whole bunch of these that are just trees, mountains, and I had kind of like a more informal name for me, but this is the stuff that is actually shown by the game. This second column is what the game actually shows you. And there was just a whole bunch of weird bugs. And, you know, I've wondered actually, are those bugs actually like some sort of indicator as to where the ultimate artifact treasure could possibly be buried? Is there some sort of quirk in those maps that is actually not a bug and it's a random value that indicates where in that area an ultimate artifact could be found? That did occur to me as a possibility. That's one of my crazier theories. I am thinking it's more likely it's just a bug. Yeah. So anyway, I'm rebuilding the engine. I want to build tooltips for the adventure map screen, also called quick info. Except for heroes, castles, towns, and monsters, resources, the tooltip menu displays the name and right-click name. The game should bring up a dialog box. The dialog box is quick hero PNG, quick town. This is actually a typo. It's QWIK. And so the first couple times I built this, I used the wrong spelling and it didn't show up. So I was like, why isn't it showing up? Well, it's not showing up because you misspelled it. Good job. So anyway, it does that. And then I give it the quantity description words. I don't think we can get bigger than a throng in Heroes 1. But I threw these in. And then heroes, I showed basically these images here and described these in words, how this works for the castle and the heroes. And then castles, it will display the larger quick town background. And then if you have one Thieves Guild, you can see the question marks of creatures there. If you have none, it just says unknown. And if you have two or more, then it shows the descriptive words instead of the question mark. I gave it the examples, and then I said if there's a bug in the table, we just skip it and display nothing here for now. And maybe this function makes sense as an addition to dialogue utils, but I kind of leave it up to the AI to decide what to do, and it decides to make quick info and quickinfo.cpp. So comes up with some different classifiers. We just have simple. We have the ground tile for like bare tiles, which if you look here, it just says ocean or obelisk. I wonder if the ocean one says water. But it just shows you different things. The alchemist lab. And then this is when you don't have any thieves guilds, it shows you unknown. Well, let's build a thieves guild quick. And exit this and go back to, I don't know, Dragadoon or whatever it was. And now we can suddenly see that. So when you have a Thieves Guild, it does update things, right? So any tile whose CSV entry is bug, kind, nothing, no box drawn. And then it draws background textures and lazy loads them, which means it's only going to load them if they're there. Player colors resolved through the game state player color. Never cast from player index, so custom color assignments work. Monster 32 creature images are used for the army grids, like the mini hero panel, which is the thing down here. Flag 32 castle flags. They've flagged the image of the castle here. So you see you have these flags on either side of Necropolis here. And then the Thieves Guild count lets you know, like, or it basically affects what you can see. So the first pass, let's go to the first pass here and see what the quick menu did. So it didn't load things because I had the typo. The castle, it didn't load the right image. Hero, it didn't load the background, but otherwise it looks, you know, kind of okay. thatched hut. You know, trees, shipwreck, diamond cave, gazebo, Sansabar, gem. And now, what is it doing for creatures here? Let's have a look. It's saying dirt where the creatures are. And then this is saying lots of creatures for the for the griffins. So yes, griffins are creatures, and that is the right amount, but it's a little funny. So what does it say for mines too? Sawmill, that looks right. Mountains, mountains, ore mine, gem mine, gem mine. So mines look okay. So I thought there was something wrong. I still didn't see the typo initially. I did call out the locators.icn values. So these are, go to locators. Basically, I need to use these tiles, these images here. And the game just picked like the first 4 of these and was displaying those. So if you look here, like it's displaying one of those randomly. I guess here it's displaying maybe it looks like 6 is being displayed there. And then for the creature tiles, it's selecting the ground tile underneath. Maybe it's a check order. It should be, it's the creature tile check should be ahead of the ground tile check. So okay, so make some changes, updates, BMP loading, monster tiles. This is then what we see next. So we are seeing the castle image correctly, but we need to make these a little smaller or fit in a little better somehow. And this is also not quite right, because in the actual game, if we just go back and look at the very first image that we had generated, it doesn't have that extra portrait. It has this little frame around it instead. So there's, you know, there's kind of a difference between what we were seeing, and also this is much bigger, right? This is like blown up like 2 or 4x the size. This also is, and this needs to be original size, and instead of having this, there's this extra portrait piece here that needs to be cut off and just make the little frame around the hero. So there's a few little things like that going on, and that's basically what I explained here. The creatures at 9A are not reading properly. They're still defaulting to creatures. We have to remove this port extra icon around the portrait, and so I give it this this specification in locator's spec. This is actually the portrait window that we want to use for that. It's just so random that was located there, but that's where it was. And then I want the possibility of the 5 creatures in the army floating, like the mini summary in the lower corner of the map. And then the images should be a similar size. Somehow they're being increased in size or stretched. This also goes for the hero portrait and the castle locator image. Look at the original images and see that everything is smaller and fits in the image versus what I'm showing you now. So it made some changes. I realized I had a bug here with my ghosts and genies. We're switching to 2.0 and 2.1. So that was one weird bug I noted, because it said, oh, I noticed you have an inconsistency with both 1A and 1B, which is ghosts and genies, which is correct from game data, and 2021 from map CPP. So I had a bug in map CPP that I didn't even realize until now. So anyway, I fixed that, and it brought up the table. And then I realized also that the hero stats are supposed to be shown on the map, or on this quick info menu. And then when you cast Identify Heroes, the 3rd level spell, you should actually be able to see this. You can see this for all heroes that are visible. on your map that aren't covered by Fog of War, you can see this until the end of the turn. And so I was like, well, it's probably time to add in these adventure spells, and let's make it so that when you click on Identify Hero in the spell book, that brings up the the quick info menu with stats, with the number of creatures for each hero that you can see on the map. And so I dropped in like the spellbook documentation. When clicking on one's own heroes, the stats should be displayed. This might be similar to how the hero screen or hero tooltip is done. They don't have any thieves guilds. The castle reads unknown no matter what is in the garrison. If the player has even one thieves guild, it can read none if the castle garrison's empty, or question mark under each creature that is in the garrison. 2+, it can read none if the castle garrison is empty, or it reads the quantity phrase under the castle garrison for each creature. The Identify Hero spell is active this turn. The player can identify any visible heroes not covered by Fog of War and view all that info. And basically say, let's implement it now. New day should reset when it happens. And then there's this dialog box that says enemy heroes are now fully identifiable. So that's what happens when you cast Identify Heroes. This is a little spell description. There's no sound effects as far as I can tell. Maybe there is, but if it is, it's probably something like a whoosh sound effect. And so, yeah, spell 17 is Identify Hero, stats display, and the castle garrison fix. So goes through, makes these changes, and then it starts showing my own creatures with a question mark for enemy-owned castles, or for myself, and not just for enemy-owned castles. So it fixes the one-line fix there. We have a little, bit of a compiler error here, which some player value didn't get fixed. And so this didn't cast the spell. This actually still just brought up the tooltip. And so I'm explaining how to cast the spells exactly. Okay, great. And then I'm happy with the documentation. So I'm going to go in and pull up the build that worked. Okay. We have the new build here, so let's build some mage guilds. And we need to try and get the Identify Hero spell. You can see what's in mine. You can see my stats. The creatures are a little bit outside of the box, but... Okay, we did get Identify Heroes. That's great. That's a good roll. So now let's go in and let's cast it. Okay, I have this, the fallback box is displaying over it, but it's pretty close. So enemy heroes are fully identifiable. So we have Vatana up here. She spawned with some stuff. Yogg. And Ari. Now if we run the next day, we should not be able to see them anymore because the spell has worn off. Yep. So that looks good. In Sorpagal, we do have a thieves guild, so we can see what's in there. But yeah, so there was that minor bug with the message where it had the fallback box behind the text. But other than that, you know, Identify Heroes is working. So that was our first time really casting an adventure spell. And we're able to see all the hero values. And there's still some minor alignment issues, but for the most part, it's really working, and I'm pretty happy with that.